Hey guys, what's up? It's Leaf here from Coding with Leaf, and today we're going to be talking about how to install a full Cardano node and the Cardano CLI onto your machine so you are able to interact with the blockchain, interact with smart contracts, create NFTs, other fungible tokens. You're able to query the blockchain yourself. All right, so the first thing we got to keep in mind here is everything in Cardano is based on Haskell. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make sure we install all these build tools, and I already have all those things downloaded. Remember, get this from the documentation page, the Cardano documentation page. I'll have it in the description. So I already have all those build tools, just copy and paste it into your shell. Now we're going to install GHC, which is the version manager for Haskell. We need this in order to make our Cardano node because it is built in Haskell. So we're going to use this curl statement that I just copied and pasted in order to install gchup, which is the package manager for GHC, and Cabal, I think it's called, which is the package manager. Think of it as like the Node.js or the Cargo for Haskell. All right, so it also gives you some instructions on what to do. You should say yes or just enter to, do you want to automatically add the path variable to your bashrc? Yes, you want to do that. You don't want to install a Haskell language server. You don't want to install stack, whatever that is, and you can just hit enter to proceed. And that's going to install gchup. So now we have access to Haskell and we have access to Cabal. And not to be confused with COBOL, it's not COBOL, it's Cabal, and that is the package manager for Haskell. So now we have gchup. We have GHC version 1.19.2, but they actually want us to install a different version so we know we're compatible with the Cardano build. So we're gonna make sure we copy the gchup, install GHC, and then that specific version, the 8.10.7, and then we're gonna set it to 8.10.7. So we're using the correct version of Haskell to build Cardano. Now we're going to make sure we also have the correct version of Cabal. I don't know how to say it. Sorry, I keep always saying COBOL. But yeah, we got that specific version. We need that package manager to make sure this entire build goes properly. So now after we make sure we set our versions of those two, the package manager and the language compiler itself, we are able to check the versions and make sure everything is good. So now we're going to create a working directory to store our source code for our Cardano node. I actually already made a directory on a separate hard drive. Cardano nodes take up tons of space, so I actually saved this as a path variable in my bashrc. It's called Cardano drive, and this just brings me to a mounted drive I have on my machine. So you can store this anywhere you want. I'm now here going to make a directory, and we're going to call it Cardano SRC, just like they recommend in the documentation. And inside our Cardano SRC, we're going to be storing our entire node or Cardano CLI build tools. So next we need to install some dependencies in order to make sure we can build our Cardano CLI. So the first one is libsodium. It recommends that we go and git clone this repository. They actually made a mistake, I think, and did not add the .git at the end of it. So we need to go git clone that URL .git. And once we've cloned that repository, we're able to cd into that, and then we'll check out to a specific branch just to make sure everything is the same so we can replicate this and there's not going to be any errors when we do our build. So after we check out and go to that branch, we're going to run two shell scripts here. Well, we have the first shell script and then we have another file to run. So we have the autogen.sh, and any of these might take a bit. I don't know how fast your computer is, or how fast your hard drive is compared to mine. Whatever happens. So just, you might need to pause the video if things are going too fast, or if they're going too slow, you can speed it up. Okay, we got that. Now we need to run sudo make install. Okay, now it's time that we add these paths here, as it says in the documentation, to our bash RC. So, you know, I like to do this just because I'm used to, I'm a developer, so I'm used to using IDEs just to edit text. You can do this wherever you want. You can use Vim, you can use whatever. I'm going to use VS Code just because it's just easier for me, whatever. So I'm just going to open up my bash RC in VS Code and then make some edits. You can see my bash RC here on the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to export a variable. And this variable is just going to be equal to the paths of a couple things. So we can just copy and paste those exports down there. And as you can see, I just highlighted my Cardano drive. It's just my mounted disk. So again, that's not something you guys have to do. You're going to see that show up a few times in this video, but just know whenever I'm doing that, I'm just referencing where I have my Cardano SRC folder or my Cardano SRC directory. So let's paste in those exports right here. And once we have those exports in there, our build relies on being able to call those paths, call those files. So we're just going to save our bash RC, and then after we save our bash RC, we have to run, of course, we have to run source. And then you have to run source and then your bash RC. So that would be, for most people, $home /.bash RC. So here I'm just testing it out. Of course, this just returned no social file or directory. It doesn't exist yet, but as you can see, it returned the path that I set it to. So everything is good there. So now we need to install this hashing algorithm. It's actually a hashing algorithm I think that Bitcoin uses because we're downloading it from the Bitcoin Core GitHub. So we're just going to clone that repository right there, github.com, Bitcoin Core SECP256K1, and don't forget the .git extension on that, because you need that when you do HTTPS calls on GitHub. All right, great. We're going to CD into the SECP256K1 folder. Now let's do the same type of thing where we check out to a specific branch, so we make sure that we are on a working branch for this build. And now we're again going to run the autogen.sh, and we're going to run the configure both little scripts here, I guess, that do something. I don't really know what they do, but follow the instructions, right? After we run these scripts, again, we're going to do a make, then we're going to do a make check, which is going to be making sure it passes some sort of test. I'm not 100% sure, but if it passes the test, then we sudo make install, and that will install the SECP256K1 library that we need. I think that's the hashing algorithm that Cardano uses. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems to me like that's what it is. Okay, so after running make check, we are able to pass those tests. So now we're going to run our sudo make install command. Okay, great. So everything should be good on that front. So now we're ready to compile and install the Cardano Node and the Cardano CLI, which are both very fundamental parts of our world here. So now we're going to CD back into our Cardano source folder. And when we get in there, we're going to clone the Cardano Node git, and then we're going to change directories into the Cardano Node when we get it. And it's best for us to fetch all here, and we're going to make sure that we have the most up-to-date Cardano node versioning. And whenever an update happens to Cardano, we're going to have to update our node, or else it's not going to be valid on the blockchain anymore. We have to keep it in sync with all the other nodes. Alright, so we're going to explicitly use the GHC version as installed earlier. Again, this is really important. If you don't end up using the same GHC version, then anything can happen, right? Because, you know, Haskell as a language can change, they can update it, but this, you know, the Cardano source code is dependent on this specific version of Haskell. So it might work right now, I don't know, but we don't want to get left behind, or actually we don't want to move too far ahead of Cardano, I guess. So again, this is a situation where I did run into it. It says, note, for some installations, you're gonna have to run Cabal update, not Cabal update, in order to fix a problem. And on my machine, I did end up having to run Cabal update. So I just did that here. Obviously I did a dry run of this before I recorded it. So I just did that. You might not have to, but if you can't do this next thing, Cabal build Cardano Node, Cardano CLI, then that's your problem. You need a Cabal update. But now we are ready, since we're not running, since we're running an x64 type system, we don't have to do that step there. We can just go straight into the meat and bones of this video, which is the Cabal build Cardano Node and Cardano CLI. And this is going to take quite a while. Okay, I lied. In my case, it only ended up taking about 25 minutes, so that wasn't too bad. So now we're going to make sure we have these global commands in our shell, so we're able to use the Cardano Node and Cardano CLI command at will. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this line here. We're going to make a directory in our home called local bin, and then we're going to copy these specific shell scripts into that location. So again, just copy and paste here, make directory at your home, local bin, and then copy the Cardano Node and Cardano CLI commands into that local bin. And now we have to add this line below our shell profile so that the shell terminal can recognize that the Cardano CLI are global commands. So we have to go into our in this case bash rc, but possibly your zshrc, depending on which shell you're using. But I'm using bash rc, or I'm using bash. So now we're going to go into our bash rc and add that variable path, add that path at the end there, and then we're going to restart our bash rc by using, again, source and then source bash rc, which is the command you have to run in your shell in order to update it. And then we are going to restart our terminal, and then everything is good and we have what we need in order to use the CLI. And in the next video, we're going to actually get into building the Cardano node and running that node and being live on the blockchain. So next video, I'm going to do it on the testnet. That video is going to be a great one, but now that we have the CLI installed, we're able to move on. So let me just finish up here by adding the path to my, I guess it didn't really show, I'm sorry. But now that I have that, I'm able to restart my terminal and get it working. Okay guys, I got my CLI working after running the source bash rc command. We're now able to run our Cardano CLI and Cardano Node commands. And you can check the version by using -- version as a flag, and that'll return it all. So that is great. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you could hit that like button if it helped you out. And also if you're interested in Cardano development content, that is what this channel is all about. So I'll be seeing you guys later.